Well, here we are at Croup Manor. I'll start off by showing my front gate. I added this. This is the two halves of the main barn door from the barn section of the building tab. Sorry. It is put together. It's two segments joined in the middle, and when you put them together, I put them together over here on the floor on the driveway, and then I used a pillar to move them over and get them just where I wanted them. Basically the inside of the door to just barely touching off these fence posts, and then you can hang the doors to make a nice gate. We have the turrets right here. You'll see them all over the place, actually. Some towers to hold turrets above the fence line, some looking down the rear, just to make sure that the potential spawns of enemies can come from any direction and still get engaged by turrets. And of course the courtyard is covered by turrets on the low wall, and there's turrets up on the roof of the building in case something takes out a turret before they come up the hill. Then we have the manor itself. Here's one of the twins. I call them that because the two settlers who showed up here are identical to each other. The only difference that I noticed was one had a hat when she showed up, the other didn't. I closed this garage. It was not very difficult to do. This first piece basically just sat down next to the support for the awning, and I twisted and finagled it until I felt that it was straight, and then I snapped all the rest of the wall pieces to it. It's 3 walls deep, 1 wall wide, and then the half broken wall on this side. Then out on the front, I put the half big barn door wall, and on the other side of that, I put the broken wall with the flat side facing the door, so it comes off as this is how it was supposed to be all along.
I hope you ain't one of them synths.
Right here we have the oil lamps. I know that I have USO, and I think that's what activated them in my build menu. They're a little bit taller than you see here. The oil lamps themselves were placed directly next to the lamps that were here, the broken ones, and then the broken ones were removed. These were slid over into the exact same position, and then a pillar was used to sink them down about half the height of the base, made them the same height that the original pillars were. As we walk in the front main door, you'll see that I used a non-snappable red door. I wanted the door to open in, and unfortunately these door frames only allow you to snap a door that opens out. The non-snappable door can be placed in a way that allows you to open it in. These walls were rug glitched in. This wall right here and this doorway wall right here, as well as that wall right there. This wall, however, is literally just sat in the hallway at approximately the location where the previous wall had been. I wanted to try and regain the footprint of the house as Bethesda thought it was, see what they did. This door is standard snappable door. It opens out, but does open towards the wall, so it makes my aesthetics happy. Interestingly, this wall I had to do it from the outside. I couldn't do it from inside the house. But this wall itself just sat on the edge of the foundation, right at the edge of the floor here. So I was very pleased to see that, because this big gaping hole needed to be filled. This broken half wall or quarter wall just snapped to this wall. It didn't require anything special. I decided to leave these gaps right now. I'll probably come back and use some plywood to board them over, but for now it's done enough. In here we have the what I would call the living room. I rug glitched a half wall, a vertical half wall, into the hole that was here, and then from the outside I used a pillar and conduit and pushed the plywood through until it came green on this side of the wall, which made it easy enough to mount and still look realistic. It looks like it's been nailed up there. Obviously, this door comes into the garage area now, and that's a good thing. That makes me feel like this house makes a little more sense, because when that was just a awning, these two doors are right next to each other. They didn't make sense, but now they do. I did not do anything downstairs yet, but the basement is a separate zone, so really the bottom of the stairs is just going to remain storage anyway. Here we have the second floor. I really felt like there must have been a door here, just from the way the wall looked on the inside. It gave me the impression that there had been some kind of door here. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe it was just a window, but anyway, this piece also just slid right up against the building, almost touching the building without any effort. Now this piece I did have to use a pillar to put in, but this is a full-size barn wall, and it actually ends right at the edge of this frame. It's made so that when the piece was placed in, it just barely reached the frame so that it wouldn't interfere with the door, but it covered that big massive hole in the wall. I then used a pillar to put the two walls in this corner, which actually was not in any way difficult. As soon as the pieces were lined up with the exterior of the wall, they turned green. There was no hesitation in the placement on those. Here you'll see that I did something that I had to redo upstairs. I'll explain it more in a second. But in here, I've always felt this room was a good bathroom, so I made it a bathroom. In most of my playthroughs, it's a bathroom. Everything fits, it works, and it makes sense. It's at the top of the stairs. It's kind of like the way old houses used to be made with one bathroom. They found a decent room and put it into it. Now, if you come in here, there was always a door here, and I replaced it.
I can't remember the last time I had clean fingernails.
Oh, there she is, the second of the twins, hiding in the corner. She's supposed to be scrapping, but you'll notice that on this floor there's a couple of spots where there's a raised floor piece. I watched Sardiliac's stream where he took the pillar and the campfire and he made these sink directly into the floor, and the whole floor came out smooth as glass. Well, as smooth as glass as it possibly can anyway. I tried to replicate that. I put the campfire in place, I used the concrete pillar, and yes, I could get the pillar to sink through the floor with the floor group selected, but as soon as the bottom of the floor passed through the existing floor, it turned red. I tried this spot and this spot
You got a dangerous
for,
look about you.
I
Okay,
want
in
to
here for me.
say, the better part of 20 minutes, and I could not make them accept this floor. So instead, I put the patch on top. It's the apocalypse. I think we can forgive people for patching with what they got the way they got it. For whatever reason, I was completely unable to do anything with these specific floor pieces. So let's go upstairs to the third floor, and you'll see there was definitely a door here in the past, so I put another door here. Again, this barn door piece just slipped right up against the edge of the building with a tiny gap at the top. I was very pleased with how quickly it went up. It had no effort whatsoever, and I was able to snap onto the edge of it one half of the large barn door, which, as you see when you come out here, the white post coming off the side that normally supports the top of the door sticks out a little bit. Maybe I'll use that in the future for a conduit anchor when I put a generator on site, or maybe I'll find a way to hang a lantern on it. It's a very nice piece of patchwork, leaving again a tiny little gap. It is the apocalypse, but as you see here, I floored the entire hole in the roof. This corner here is where the most solid piece of roof was, and once I had the corner lined up, I could snap the other roof piece or floor pieces onto the roof, making a solid. Now, the very top roof I really like to have access to, so I found that I could put this floor up here as well. And by using barn floor, it's a little bit squishy around the edges. It's not as solid as the shack floor. The shack floor resists the edges of this roof very, very completely. But what I did is I put a roof down, everything but these vents, which I cannot override. I can't scrap them using scrap that settlement or clip through them, but I put the whole roof down, and it let me snap this little piece to the edge of the roof I put down, which happened to be what I was going to hook my stairs to. So now I can come up onto the roof anytime I want. I can, if I decide to put a settlement beacon, I can put it up here. I can put the generator up here if I want to. There's no danger that a raider is going to get a lucky shot on a generator that's centered on this roof. I then decided I was going to try and put a awning or a roof of some sort over this door, because there was a gap. You can look down there and see a board and a half gap between the edge of the roof and the front of the barn piece. Well, I couldn't find a way to get anything to snap to the edge of the roof, or to the floor that I put on the roof. So I came over here. I decided I was going to do something and maybe build towards it. And I was spinning a piece of shack floor, and it wouldn't line up anywhere in the center of this roof, so I could actually line up on the edge. As a matter of fact, in any position up here that I tried to put it, that snapping another piece to it or two pieces to it would end up leading to where I wanted it, it would not go. And as I turned to walk off the roof, I still had the shack floor selected, and as I walked past here, it snapped to the edge of the barn door wall piece, straight through the existing floor, that the barn floor that was up here on the roof. So I ended up getting that gap covered, even though it wasn't quite the way I had expected it to. I then decided I was going to put a second layer of barn floor up on the roof because I wanted just a little bit more height. I wanted the turrets to be right up to the edge, because they need to have clear field of fire, and I really felt like if they were when we were even with the roof, they couldn't get anywhere near these white edges. So I wanted to move them as close to the edge as possible. The second layer, actually, I ran the boards this crossways, so just to keep track of it in my own mind, and it worked out beautifully. It lets me move the turrets exactly where I want them. Now here's the second place that I did that rug on the floor, and that rug on the floor, that's a large rug. Actually, it's 2 large rugs. And what I did is I put a mat down and I rug glitched the big rug over the hole. Then I pulled the mat out, and it sinks to just below the top of these rafters. And what that does is what I call structural rug. It might as well be a floor. Because I couldn't sink the floor in, I got stuck with that. The door opens out. You couldn't put a raised floor on this side of the door. As you can see, though, you can put a raised floor on the other side of the door. This room is so large and so nice. In other playthroughs, I've used this as my player home, and I use this as a bedroom and office with a complete set of bedroom furnishings, including a safe and a desk and several bookcases, as well as a bobblehead stand. This room is immensely large for the player character. Couldn't ask for a better room, and if this character ends up using it as a player home as well, probably do that same thing again. You'll notice I left that floor lamp right where it is. That's because at night, this whole area is lit up by that floor lamp, and if you scrap the floor lamp, which you can even in vanilla game, the light stays. Not the light bulb, just the light. So, until I wire this house up, I'm not going to remove that. I'll find another lamp that I can put in that position, that maybe even a dim lamp that'll take advantage of the bright light that's left behind. It's a little ridiculous that Bethesda did that as a separate thing. The light is not the actual source of the light. This light is not the actual source of the light, and there's this fog around it at all times. And then, of course, this light. It's very dim, but it's always lit, and again, even with that light removed in the dark from outside, you can see it as a light source. That's the settlement as it is. It'll probably improve quite a bit before I get any further. I do want to just leave it as is right now. Eventually they'll have to have a bar or something inside, and maybe, I don't know, maybe just outside the gate I'll put a trading post, something to increase the happiness level. But until I have the ability to build the generator, the fusion core generator, I'm going to leave this one unpowered. I like the fusion core generator, and I really feel like it's a good use of space. It's a small generator that packs a lot of power. easy to put up on the roof up there. Or if I change my mind and decide to build a generator shed, I can scrap these trees right here, or move this turret right here and put a little generator shed in place in this rock formation and have it provide power to the house. And again, that's all going to depend on how quickly I get Science 4 so I can build the correct generator. I wanted to show you my provisioner, but he is not here. This is provisioned from the slog. So that is pretty much the tour of Croup Manor. Obviously, I went very heavy on defense. I like to have them at 100 defense so that raider attacks are at the minimum, because I'm not normally in this area. And traveling here anytime that there's an attack is not an option, unless I happen to have nothing else going on. I do like to travel to try and defend the attacks, and that's one of the reasons that I try and keep the defense high, so that I don't have to travel all the time. As a matter of fact, most of my settlements will have a very high defense rating, just so that I don't get attacked very frequently. I just noticed some texture colliding on that window. I think what we saw from the driveway was the shadow texture. Yeah? The shadow texture is trying to interact with the steps behind the window. And it's creating a conflict, but only when you're at a distance. That's quality meshing there. I guess you can't get everything with the dynamic lighting. I guess I'd rather have the dynamic lighting than perfect mesh on every surface. Good job, Piper. Do some defending while you're standing there for the outro. We'll stand up here together and show everybody Croup Manor behind us. Well, behind me. Everybody have a good day and enjoy your game.